Martin Luther King was definitely a pioneer of his time to use his voice to what he believed in.
He energized groups to carry the message. It wasn't all about him, and he did it in such a loving way that it's impossible not to follow that example.
I think the way that he used his voice and his platform, no matter if it was in the eyes of ridicule or imprisonment or whatever the case was, he didn't back down from that. And so for us, it's inspiration to use our voice and our platform to speak for those that can't speak for themselves.
Very special MLK Day around the association. Our Auto Trader pregame shows you Game 1, PG-13. Forget just all defense MVP conversation. He has been as good as it gets. Thunder get the Knicks. Hawks looking for some magic. A lot of youth take center stage. Not on this stage. At least not to my left. Hawks and Magic, we'll get to that as well. We got 11. Great laugh, Mac. Clearly, perspective. Today is about much more than basketball as we celebrate the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And you think about, and I say this with Jackie Robinson Day in baseball, having covered it, where everybody sits there April 15th every year wearing 42. We recognize this day. We should appreciate and believe in the message every single day. As we bring you in to our set, our Trader pregame, Casey Stern, my Hall of Famers, Zeke, Mac. Isaiah, when you sit there and you think about the importance of passing on the message to young athletes and young African-American athletes who are sitting there who may not truly understand the appreciation they should have of what this day means, how important is it for you that basketball takes center stage in that relationship on MLK Day?
I think it's extremely important that basketball and sport represent this day, because, when you come together in sport, there's really no race, there's no religion, there's no culture. It's just really about people coming together, loving each other, and trying to win or trying to accomplish a goal. What Martin Luther King stood for and what he was trying to do was to make us all equal in the eyes of the law. So there's a great history lesson here in terms of being equal under the eyes of the law, fighting for justice, fighting for equality, fighting for, equal rights in terms of the Voting Rights Act. We grew up in the 60s, played in the 70s, and I'll let Kevin, speak to how important the Celtics were during this period of time and what Red Auerbach did with Bill Russell. But I mean, when you talk about the history of sport and you talk about the history of this day, we always see that iconic picture of Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What does that picture stand for? It stands for people fighting for equality, but using the law, using protests, using marches, but understanding how the law works in this country, and then trying to change those laws, trying to abide by the U.S. Constitution, trying to be a part of the Constitution, trying to be a part of the fabric of America. That's what MLK was all about, and that's what MLK Day represents.
Mac, Zeke references that you think about the Boston Celtics and Red Auerbach, and there are names like his and Branch Rickey in baseball and others who have been so instrumental in this. And I love something we were talking earlier, there's no white, there's no black, only green. Yeah. And the common denominator that sports not only presents in general, but how much of that in this league really began with the organization that you played for. How much of that did you feel? Give us a sense of what that was like being a part of it.
Very much. I mean, red, yeah, there's no black or white, there's green, because the more we win, the more money we're going to make, and we're all going to make it together, and, we all do better together. Basketball is an unbelievable unifier of people. I grew up in a small little mining town. I didn't know any black guys growing up. I went down to the University of Minnesota, And I had no preconceived notions of anybody. I went down there, and some of the black guys on my team became way better friends than some of the white guys. And so I never looked at people from color. And like you say, when you're on the floor, you're just out there playing. The ball has no idea what color you are.
Yeah.
You're just moving it and stuff. And taking it back to the Celtics, Red felt like that. Red started 5 black players, first guy to do that.
Yeah.
He gave the head coaching job to Bill Russell. So Bill Russell was the first player coach, black.
I think it's important that you cite the date. I think Martin Luther King was assassinated in '68. Russell became player head coach, 69.
Yeah, I mean, but
That's how important the Celtics were.
Yeah, and that was a wild time. Zeke and I grew up in the '60s, in the '70s, played in the '70s in college, and played in the pros in the '80s. But it felt like I grew up in a completely different world than today. I mean, I did not see a lot of color and a lot of stuff. Never dawned on me that you were different than me because of your skin color. It was honestly who you were as a person. I liked good people. I liked people that were fun. I liked people like to laugh and stuff like that. So I had universal. Didn't matter what skin color you were. And now I see, it feels like we're almost taking a giant step back, and you put everybody in their little categories. People are people. And I just think basketball is a great uniter. I think it brings people together. And I know, again, taking it back to the Celtics, that was a family. Quick story I'll tell you. So I'm a rookie. They bring everybody back, and they bring back the 1960 World Championship team. This is the first time I see Bill Russell. I love Bill Russell. So I'm in the court, and Bill Russell walks out. I'm like, ooh, Bill Russell, I'm standing out here on the court with Bill Russell. I'm excited. Red comes out. Russ gives him a hug, picks him up in the air, and I'm just staring at him. I'm thinking, wow, the love that these two guys had for each other, and the mutual respect and love and everything they had. It was just so genuine. And I just watched that and said, man, these guys went through some stuff together, and they came out the other side. And you talked about, common goals. The bigger your goals are, the tighter you become. Because if your goal is just get paid in the NBA, who cares if you win?
Yeah.
Your team can be scattered and sketchy. If your goal is to win an NBA championship, you got to be tight, and you got to care about each other. And you can see those guys cared about each other.
All the way at the lowest of levels in terms of those out of the NBA, the community, and spreading the message, something that we continue to see this year to celebrate the life of Dr. King. Visited schools and youth programs around the country that are associated with NBA teams and players. Wanted to hear from the next generation of the leaders and their thoughts about civil rights, modern-day activism, and, of course, the legacy of MLK. Zeke, along with Memphis Grizzlies point guard Mike Conley, sat down with 5 students from Grizzlies Prep to have that discussion and to visit the site where Dr. King took his very last breath.
We're going to be talking about Martin Luther King and his significance in terms of social activism and his impact that he had on the world. When you think of Martin Luther King and social activism, what comes to mind?
I think of him as a very good civil rights leader. I think about what can I do in my community to help others. I think about voices that want to be heard, that aren't afraid to take risks just to be heard.
I think of Martin Luther King as a person who fought without violence, and also as a man who always stuck up for what he believed in and wanted to eliminate all Jim Crow laws.
Man, this guy really had guts to step up for what was right, and I just want to be like that too. Because right now we're just going backwards instead of forwards.
That's just a snippet of a feature you could see in its entirety tonight, 5 p.m., or this afternoon, I guess, 5 p.m. Eastern on the TNT pregame. Zeke, what did it mean to you? What do those types of conversations mean to you?
I was impressed, but I was also hurt that we are still dealing with some of the same issues and topics that we were dealing with in the 40s, 50s, 60s, basically since the inception of this country. And to have those young men at such a young age have to come face to face with, they just want to be equal and they want the same opportunities. And, for the one kid to say, that Martin Luther King was a man, and, we visited, the sanitation workers site where when Martin Luther King went down to Memphis, it was about I am a man, because the workers and African Americans at that time were not being treated or seen as men. And for this young man to say, hey, he just wanted to grow up and be a man and to have, you know, the full equal rights under the law, protection, citizenship, so forth and so on. It was very enlightening, but very disheartening to see that we're still going through this.
Well, you mentioned a young age. We stay with the Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr., he's been celebrating MLK Day. Since he was a young boy, the Grizzlies and the Pels get together today as part of our broadcast. He'll be doing what he normally does, that's playing basketball. Why don't you see what he was doing when he was 6 years old? Take a look.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day the red hills of Georgia, the Southern former slaves, the Southern former slaves will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
And consequently, OKC had a good night in the Garden.
We didn't find a single Knicks highlight to put in there.
Well, they were in the highlights. They were all on the defensive
positive
side,
positive highlight. They've lost 6 in a row, 9 straight now as OKC gets the win, 127-109. Russ, an assist shy of a triple-double. Talked about the difference today with Rebecca Harlow. OKC now 10 games over 500 on the season. If the Thunder are going to make some noise come playoff time, what's going to be the key to making that happen?
They have to keep defending the way they are. And I think they got to get a little bit smarter on offense. We talked about, do they need to add another shooter at the trade deadline? I don't know if they'll be able to go out and acquire one, but if they can't go out and acquire one, then offensively they got to become much more efficient. They got to have better shot selection, and they got to keep defending the way they're defending.
You know, what I like about them is tonight Russell Westbrook took 12 shots. It controlled the game. He had 10 rebounds, 9 assists. When you can go out there and control the game with 12 shots, that's the way I like to see him play. I don't like the Russ 8 for 32 nights where he just keeps shooting and that. Yeah, I just don't like that. I like when he's like his shot's been kind of funky this year, so he's not pushing it as much. He's not pushing that shot threshold up into the high teens, mid 20s all the time. He's deferring more, and I think this gives him a better chance. When you're that efficient, you know, think about it, Zeke. He takes 12 shots, it has 10 rebounds and 9 assists. That's controlling the whole flow of the game, plus defending.
Yes.
And all the deflections and steals and stuff. So I like this new version of what I'm seeing in Oklahoma City. Interesting to me when the playoffs start. Does the old Russ come back in, bright lights, like, hey, I got to take over? Right. Or does he just kind of say, okay, Schroeder's been making shots. Paul George is our go-to guy. Get Adams some stuff. And I'm just going to play basketball. It seemed to me he was pressing the scoring margins, trying to maybe lead the league in scoring and stuff. Now he's just looking to get wins. And I like the let's just go win Russell Westbrook.
It's interesting. He's averaging about 10 fewer points than the last of his 2 scoring titles a couple of seasons ago. He's also one of the worst three-point shooters among guys who routinely take threes in the entire league right now. But he's able to do all those other things in part because Paul George has been their leading scorer this year and kind of their go-to guy down the stretch.
Well, the one thing that point guards learn in this league, if you want to win championships, right, you can't win championships by maxing out in these categories, right? The way you're going to win championships is to get everybody involved and play as a team. And your point production will go down, but your assist numbers will go up. Your teammates will be happier, right? And you become a better defender. That's how point guards win in this league. Big guys, on the other hand, they win by a different formula. And I think what Russ has figured out right now is how to win as a point guard in this league. We always measured ourselves, the great point guards, you always measure yourself by how many shots did I have to take to control the game? Magic Johnson was brilliant at it because he could take 8 shots and control a game. You know, but if as a point guard, that number was anywhere from 13 to 15 shots a night. And if you took 13 to 15 shots
when Michael Jordan was really scoring, I said, you know, Larry and Magic could control the game taking 12 shots. If you got Michael to take 12 shots, you controlled him.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and I said it was completely different how they play. And I agree with you. I think as Russell Westbrook's shots come down, his team's field goal percentage can go up, because rather than forcing 4 or 5 of those shots, all of a sudden now he's driving in there, whereas before he'd be taking some, you know, running 9-footers and stuff like that. He kicks it out, and those guys are not
crazy shots.
Crazy shots. Crazy shots. Why didn't I think of that? That's what I said. He was taking crazy shots. Now he's making passes, and guys are taking, you know, nice, got my feet set, knocking down jumpers for him.
OKC gets the win today in New York. Meanwhile, across the river in Brooklyn, it's the Nets 123-94 over the Sacramento Kings. 31 for D'Angelo Russell, back-to-back 30-point games for him. Joe Harris had 19, 3 of 4 from three-point range for the third leading three-point shooter in the NBA by percentage. And Joe Harris is with us here on Game Time after I'm told some wrangling with the headset. Is that the case, Joe?
Oh, yeah, we got it working now, though. We're all good.
Okay, good.
Joe, you got to shave that beard. That beard's probably getting in the way. All that gruff, it's hard to work around.
I got to trim it up a little bit.
Okay. You know what? All right, I like it.
You know what? I'm a beard advocate now, so I'm all over the beard. Looks good on you.
Hey, yours is clean, though. I got to clean mine up a little bit.
Question for you, because you've been there, what is your third season now in Brooklyn. At what point, maybe this season or even over the longer haul that you've been there, did your outlook on this team go from, hey, we're a bunch of guys who are kind of getting second chances in many cases, trying to find our spot in the league, to, hey, we can make the playoffs and we're a good team?
Yeah, I think you look at us at the beginning of the season, you know, obviously a lot of guys making steps in just individual development. We had some good veteran pieces. And then we just talk about, you know, being a part of the process, you know, trying to get better day in and day out. And we're all, you know, believers in what Kenny, Sean, everybody's trying to preach here in Brooklyn. And there's just, you know, a total buy-in. And obviously, you know, we've had guys that have really stepped up big and improved a lot. You know, D'Angelo's been playing great for us all year. You know, Spencer, I mean, you could go down the list. Everybody, it's a collective effort every night. You know, we don't have necessarily that superstar talent, but we play really well together on both ends of the ball.
Joe, when you talk about, you know, Kenny and Mark and that buy-in that you have there, you know, what did you guys do collectively to help D'Angelo when he came from the Lakers to Brooklyn, to get his confidence back, to get him playing at this level? What did all of you do as teammates to help him get to this level, and why did you believe in him?
I think, I mean, first off, you know, he comes to us, and we all know that he's an unbelievable talent and capable of, you know, playing the way that he has and shown this year. But I think for him, you know, just individually, being around, you know, Kenny, veteran players, guys that believe in him, you know, are helping him show the ropes, kind of learn to be a pro. The day in and day out, you know, we talk about being deliberate in your practice and consistent in your habits, and you know, he's bought in just like everybody else around here. And you know, you can see the improvement. You can see him, you know, just getting more and more confidence. And you know, here's the byproduct of it now.
Joe, you're looking so comfortable at that three-point line. You're shooting almost 48% now after 3 for 4 today. Just talk to me about the league right now and the amount of threes that are being shot and how it just kind of fits you and your team in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I come into the league at a pretty good time for shooters. You know, I'm fortunate to be in the NBA when there is a precedent put on, you know, shooting threes. And, you know, you look at our team here in Brooklyn, and, you know, we value the three-point line a lot. You know, the other night, I think we set an NBA record. We played against Houston, just combined threes in the game. You know, not to say that we live and die by it. Obviously, we're kind of taking the game as it comes. But, you know, when it boils down to it, you know, Kenny, the staff, they really believe in guys taking open threes, making the right play. And, you know, obviously, I'm a byproduct of that system, and I'm lucky to play in a system that puts a precedent on shooting threes.
Hey, Joe, how upset does the coaching staff get when you take that three and you're about a foot in front of the three-point line? What does your coach think about that shot?
I'm not even testing the waters there. I know my boundaries. I'm strictly shooting threes, and then I'm opportunistic with my drives. If I can get something going to the rim, great. But I'm not messing around anywhere else.
Atta baby, good job, man. Way to know your game, bud.
4th straight win for the team that, for my money, plays the most entertaining games in the league. You guys have been so much fun to watch. Congratulations. Keep the beard. Keep the strokes and keep it moving forward in Brooklyn.
Keep playing hard.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Joe Harris with us here on Game Time. Much more to get to on the other side. Check in on more highlights from around the league, including the Pistons and the Wiz.